Is it on? All right, good job. Keep it going. All right, now when we get to the end, we'll figure it out. All right, so hey guys, welcome to Nailing Your Life with Misty and Shannon. As you can see, we are still socially distancing, so it's just me today. But I know Misty is watching, and I know this is gonna excite everybody watching because I hate to say I cracked the code here, but I think we cracked the code here. So as you guys know, DIY in our home is super important to us, right? Like there's always things we can do that just make it easier on us. You guys have got to just wrap your mind around how incredible this is and then get ready to get started in your own home because I promise this will inspire you. So welcome again, Friday, 11 a.m. I hope you guys are having a great week. We are coming to you live from my cloffice. If you don't know what a cloffice is, it means it's a closet turned into an office because we're home with our kids and I need a space. So here we are in the cloffice with my daughter behind me, who you might see doing a little bit of work behind us. So get ready. All right, so as you know, accent walls are huge, right? They're so cool. And I actually have been wanting to wallpaper this particular wall in my office cloffice because I just wanted to add a little something to it and just make it a little more fun. Well, here's the crazy part. Last night, I was talking to Misty about the live and I said, I have this thing I'm doing in my office. I've got to show you how cool this is. This might be a really great live. So I send her the text of a picture similar to this. And she says, you've got to be kidding me. I have the same picture saved, sends it back to me. She's actually going to be doing it in her house. So here's the cool part. You get to see it in action in my home and kind of how we did it. And then I can reveal the finished results, but then you get to see it in another way in someone else's home. That is exactly what happens in the studio, right? We go into the Nailed It DIY studios, we make a project, the same one as our friend sitting next to us, but they look entirely different sometimes. So this is an opportunity for you guys to see that everybody's is gonna look just a little different, but they're all gonna look incredible. So without further ado, I'm gonna tell you guys what you need to get this project going in your own home. And if you don't have a daughter like mine, get yourself a helper because the best part is that she's actually doing it while I'm just sitting here telling you how to do it, right? So you guys can kind of see what she's doing in the background. All right, so what we're gonna talk about is what you need. The first thing you guys will need is a sponge. I've already cut mine up. So it's a square sponge, 4 by 4 inches, or 4 by 4, excuse me, about 4 by 2 maybe, just a regular square sponge. You can get them at the dollar store, right? So what I did was I took those sponges. Now normally there is a DIY tips going around where you actually just take the sponge and you sit there and do one at a time. I'm already exhausted thinking about that, and that's actually how we are going to do it. So I was like, no, there's gotta be an easier way because the thought of my daughter sitting here doing one at a time was exhausting me. So instead of doing this, where you're doing one at a time, can I borrow that from you? I created something, I think I should logo this because this is going to save you probably about 2.5 hours every wall. So you're welcome for this. So I took a block of wood and I actually just cut it down to measure about the length of my sponges. I took each piece, can I borrow that sponge, baby? I took each piece of the sponge and I cut it into a square, or a rectangle, excuse me, of just whatever size. I'm not measuring. The thing with this is it's imperfectly perfect. Do not sit there and measure your sponge. Do not start measuring the width of the cuts. Just do it. Just have fun with it and make it look as unique as possible because that imperfection, again, is going to look perfect. So I took these little pieces and I put super glue right on the back of these and I glued these down to the board, just like this. So now I've got this row. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. Now this basically, imagine, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I just go 1. Do you guys see how I just saved you? Days of work. So you're welcome. I'm so excited to see this. So it's so easy. My 11-year-old is over here doing it. So you can see she's actually filling in the edges. Now here's your next tip. So you've got your sponge, you've got your wood, and you've got your scissors. Now your sponge is cut up. Now we're going to talk about the technical, logistical aspect of putting it on the wall. This part took me a little longer. Math is not really my specialty, but once I got into it, I figured out a way to make it easy for you at home. So what you need for this step is a level and, where's my chalk? Is that over here? My sidewalk chalk, here it is, sorry. My chalk. Don't show your kids because I don't know about you guys, but sidewalk chalk is like a hot commodity around here and I can't even buy it. So I had to steal this one, but whatever. So I need a level and my chalk and of course a tape measure, which, oh, here it is, hold on. So I've got my tape measure. So what I did was I first measured the length, or excuse me, the height of my wall. I knew I had 70 inches top to bottom. Pretty simple. There's definitely ways to evenly go into that. So what I did was I measured the 70 and I said to myself, okay, I've got about four inches about right here, 5 inches. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I don't start at the top and then get to the bottom and have not quite enough to do a full stamp and it cuts it off maybe halfway. That's going to look funny, and I personally want it to look even top and bottom. So rather than just doing it and hoping when you get to the bottom there's an even stamp, I actually measured out lines. So if you guys can see behind me, I'm not sure if you can, but you'll see these faint blue lines that my daughter's actually following. I'm going to actually zoom in here a little bit to show you these. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my tape measure, and I've already taken my measurements throughout the entire wall. So I went down the wall and I marked 4 inches down the entire wall. And then I knew to grab my level so I could have those lines ready so she could come in and just stamp away and not have to worry about if her stamp was a little bit uneven or not quite going straight across the wall. That's the one thing I think that do that in the beginning and take the time to do this, because that's going to make or break how your pattern starts to play out when it goes long. So I'm going to take my level and I'm going to actually lay it right against that chalk dot that I made, and I'm going to make sure I'm level. So my eye tells me this is level, but it's actually not, which is why we need a level, right? So these levels always make me feel like I'm suddenly not straight in my life here. Okay, so I'm going to take the chalk and I'm just going to simply draw her a line. And that line is going to extend down the entire wall, making sure that it stays level so that she has that. So all the way down. So you'll see she's following that line. So what she's doing is she's simply taking the piece of wood and she's eyeing it. So she's stamping it, and you'll see. So she's stamping the wall and then pulling it apart, and you'll see, of course, her pattern is left, and then she's thinking, well, where do I start next? And you're probably thinking that too. Don't overthink it. What you're going to do is just look underneath where she can kind of see the distance of the next stamp that's starting, which is right here on the edge, and she's just eyeing it. It's not a big deal if it's a 1/4 of an inch off or anything like that. So we're going to watch her stamp a couple of these so you guys can see just how easy this is. Now let's say, for instance, she's like, oh, you know, this one could have been thicker or anything like that. She can actually take her spare sponge that I saved, which is this little cut, and just kind of go back in and fill it in. And you would never know, right? So simple as that. So easy peasy. Now I'm going to show you guys how to load up your sponge, because what I don't want you guys to do is put so much on there that when you press, the paint actually drips off the wall or causes like edges around, and it kind of starts to look sloppy. So after you're done notching, let's go into talking about how to load up that sponge. So if I can take that from you, baby. So we're going to look down here. You can aim me down here real quick. I just stepped on the sponge. There goes that pedicure. Just kidding. Haven't had one forever, right? All right, so I've got my paint, and I actually just took some gray off of our kitchen, and I mixed it with some white, and that was it. It was pretty simple. I got this color. So what she's doing is she's just taking a little bit of paint and slapping it on this piece of wood we have. I suggest the wood because I feel like that really absorbs it well enough where it's not getting, you know, too wet, and it kind of lets you control that amount you're putting on there. So I'm just taking my block of wood and I'm filling it up. Pretty simple. You don't want to go like this because, again, these are super glued, but you never know, they could kind of slide off. So just kind of go up and down like this. If you feel like there's too much, grab yourself maybe a piece of cardboard or something like that right here and just kind of take off that excess. So I'm going to take that. Now you'll see it's not at all filled up to the point of, like you can see it from the side. It's not like I'm absorbing the paint in here super, super strong where it's just like thick. So it's a pretty light coat. You do want to make sure if it starts to drip off these edges, that sometimes will kind of get a little heavy. So once in a while, maybe, I don't know, how many stamps are you getting out of one dip?
Maybe like
2, 3? Okay, so 3 dips, and she's doing 27 stamps as opposed to 1, 2, 3 by 27 times. So think about the time that saves and why this is such a cool hack. So go ahead, take your sponge, and you'll see too, again, she's following that blue line. So I'm going to close in one more time, show you guys just how easy that is. You are doing amazing, by the way. I'm super proud. Very good. I'm going to show you guys too. There's a couple things with that might happen where you, I don't know, I don't want to call them oopses. We here at this house call them beautiful oops. I've always taught my kids if things mess up, don't freak out. We can always make something out of it. So what I'm going to show you guys is over here on the wall, you will see a couple drips. This is going to happen depending on just you getting in the rhythm of it and how it's going. So if you start to see these drips, you do want to kind of take those and control those. So I'm just going to take my extra sponge and I'm just going to create a little bit of a notch, if you will, to pick it up here and just re-stamp it. So if you pull back from this, this is key, and we tell you guys this in the studio too. Sometimes when you're up on your project like this and you're doing it, you start to see all those imperfections. It's like our face, right? Look, see, not perfect, right? Get it? No, just kidding. So you're gonna start to see those imperfections when you're up close. I want you guys to step back from the wall, maybe every 3 or 4 rows. Go back about 10 feet and look at it. How is it looking? Is it looking just like you thought? Do you want to maybe fix a couple that your eye is catching? Don't do it till the end, but of course the drip ones you want to pick up. So you'll also see here, if your sponge goes over a little bit or you start to go into the next one, that is the easiest fix. Get yourself a sponge that's clean, so have a spare one that's wet with water, and you would just simply take that part and rub it right off with the wet sponge, and it comes right off. The sooner you catch them, the better. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to notice that when you're looking at it as a whole. So I promise you guys, this is not hard. Nothing about this is like you have to be a professional DIYer. You can keep going, sorry. And honestly, before the end of the live, we've already gotten through 3 rows. So there's no reason you guys can't do this in your own homes. And I actually would love to see it if you do. Of course, we're going to tune in next week and hopefully pretty soon to see Misty's reveal of doing this as well, because again, it's important to see that everyone's is not going to look the same. Your color might vary, things like that. Your technique might vary a little bit, but at the end of the day, this is all about imperfections, right? Like this is imperfectly perfect. So I think this is easy, right?
Yeah, I just need a longer line.
Oh, we need a longer line. I didn't finish her line. So we're gonna go back and finish out our blue lines, our chalk lines. After it's all dry, I'm gonna take a very, very lightly damped rag and I'm gonna wipe this all down so that these chalk lines come off. Do not do that until maybe a couple hours later or the next day, because I would hate to see you accidentally wipe that paint when you think it's dry. So be sure to do that in the end. And then we're gonna post a finished picture of the cloffice, including the desk and everything else we put up in here. So I think this is a wonderful project to do while you guys are home. You probably all have sponges, and don't worry about the shape of your sponge. You can actually do this with any kind of shape. You can cut out different shapes, circles, triangles, things like that, and do patterns. But the key is using this hack. Get yourself a piece of wood and some super glue and glue these to the board so that you can go down the line quicker and easier. So raise your hand if you learned something, you guys. Comment below. Let me know what you think of this nailed it little hack we're doing here, and let me know what you guys do in your own homes during this time. So as always, we're going to post tips down below in the links to take you over to our Nailed It DIY crew page, our Facebook VIP page, where you're going to get a little inside look on how this went down and all the details of what you need to get it started. So make sure you're following all of our studios. We've got 10 states across the country that are nailing it, and we would love you that opportunity as well. So if you're sitting home thinking, you know what, I got to do something new with my life, things aren't going the way I thought, and you want to open a Nailed It DIY studio, we got your back. We will talk to you. We will invite you into this family, see what kind of owner you want to be. We got your back. So give us a call. Let us know if you want a studio close to you. And as always, keep following us. Keep supporting those local small businesses. And you guys, please be safe and be kind to one another. And we will see you guys next week right here at 11 a.m. on Facebook for Nailing Your Life with Misty and Shannon. Bye. You want to say bye?